Good morning and welcome to Bible in a Year as we are at day 60 today. As we go through the Bible in 365 days, we're going to be reading from Genesis to Revelations, and we're following through the adventure timeline. This is a timeline that's created by Jeff Cavins, and right now we are in the period of desert wanderings. Now, today we'll be reading Numbers 10, Deuteronomy 9, and Psalm 10. Number 10, the Lord tells Moses to make 2 trumpets for Israel to use for calling together the community, for setting out of camp, for wars and battles, and rejoicing at their appointed feasts. Chapter 10 also tells of the Israelites leaving Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, and going back into the desert, where they will eventually cross into the Promised Land. Deuteronomy chapter 9, God calls the people of Israel to cross the Jordan and go into the land that the Lord their God has given them. Not because of their obedience, he says, but because of the unrighteousness of those living in the land. Moses also recalls the people's disobedience at Mount Sinai and their worshiping of the golden calf. And then lastly, Psalm 10 was originally combined with Psalm 9 as an acrostic. Remember we read Psalm 119, that was an acrostic. It goes through every single letter of the Hebrew Bible. Anyways, this is a Psalm of David, and this, like I said, it was combined with Psalm 9 in an earlier translation, Greek translation known as the Septuagint. And this is a psalm of lament or petition. Anyways, we'll begin with Numbers chapter 10. The Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 trumpets of hammered silver and use them for calling the community together and for having a camp set out. When both are sounded, the whole community is to assemble before you at the entrance to the tent of meeting. If only one is sounded, the leaders, the heads of the clan Israel, are to assemble before you. When a trumpet blast is sounded, the tribes camping on the east are to set out. The sound of a second blast, camps on the south are to set out. The blast will be the signal for setting out. To gather the assembly, blow the trumpets, but not with the same signal. The sons of Aaron, the priests, are to blow the trumpets. This is to be a lasting ordinance for you and the generations to come. When you go into battle in your own land against an enemy who is oppressing you, sound a blast on the trumpets. Then you'll be remembered by the Lord your God and rescued from your enemies. Also at your times of rejoicing, your appointed feasts and new moon festivals, you are to sound the trumpet over your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and they will be a memorial for you before God. I am the Lord your God. On the 20th day of the 2nd month of the 2nd year, the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle of testimony. Then the Israelites set out from the desert of Sinai and traveled from place to place until the cloud came to rest in the desert of Paran. They set out this first time at the Lord's command through Moses. The divisions of the camp, Judah went first, under their standard. Nashon, son of Amminadab, was in command. Nethanel, son of Zuar, was over the division of the tribe of Issachar, and Eliab, son of Helon, was over the division of the tribes of Zebulun. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonites and the Merarites who carried it set out. The divisions of the camps of Reuben went next, under their standard. Eleazar, son of Shadur, was in command. Shelumiel, son of Jerishadai, was over the division of the tribes of Simeon. And Eliasaph, son of Duel, was over the divisions of the tribe of Gad. Then the Kohathites set out carrying the holy things. The tabernacle was to be set up before they arrived. The divisions of the camp of Ephraim went next, under the standard. Elishama, son of Mehud, was in command. Gamaliel, son of Peduzur, was over the division of the tribe of Manasseh. and Abidan, son of Gideoni, was over the division of the tribe of Benjamin. Finally, as the rear guard for all the units, the divisions of the camps of Dan set out under their standard. Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai, was in command. Pagiel, son of Ochran, was over the division of the tribe of Asher. And Ahira, son of Enan, was over the division of the tribe of Naphtali. This was the order of march for the Israelite divisions as they set out. Now Moses said to Hobab, son of Ruel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, "We are setting out for the place about which the Lord said, 'I will give it to you.' Come with us, and we will treat you well, for the Lord has promised good things to Israel." He answered, "No, I will not go. I am going back to my own land and my own people." But Moses said, "Please, do not leave us. You know where we should camp in the desert, and you can be our eyes. If you come with us, we will share with you whatever good things the Lord gives us." So they set out from the mountain of the Lord and traveled for 3 days. The ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them during these 3 days to find them a place to rest. The cloud of the Lord was over them by day, and when they set out from the camp, whenever the ark set out, Moses said, "Rise up, O Lord. May your enemies be scattered. May your foes flee before you." Whenever it came to rest, he said, "Return, O Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel." Here ends our first reading. Our second reading comes from Deuteronomy chapter 9. "Hear, O Israel, you are now about to cross the Jordan, to go in and dispose of nations greater and stronger than you, with great large cities that have walls up to the sky. The people are strong and tall, Anakites. You know about them and have heard about it said, 'Who can stand up against the Anakites?' But be assured today that the Lord your God is the one who goes across ahead of you like a devouring fire. He will destroy them. He will subdue them before you, and you will drive them out and annihilate them quickly, as the Lord has promised you. After the Lord your God has driven them out from before you, do not say to yourself, 'The Lord has brought me here to take possession of this land because of my righteousness.' No, it is on account of the wickedness of those nations that the Lord has gone to drive them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you are going in to take possession of this land, but on account of the wickedness of these nations. The Lord your God will drive them out before you to accomplish what he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this good land to possess, for you are a stiff-necked people. Remember this and never forget how you provoked the Lord your God to anger in the desert. From the day you left Egypt until you arrived here, you have been rebellious against the Lord. At Horeb you aroused the Lord's wrath so that he was angry enough to destroy you. When I went up on the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablets of the covenant that the Lord had made for you, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread and drank no water. The Lord gave me 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God. On them were all the commandments the Lord proclaimed to you on the mountain out of the fire on the day of the assembly. At the end of the 40 days and 40 nights, the Lord gave me the 2 stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant. And the Lord told me, "Go down from here at once, because your people whom you brought up from Egypt have become corrupt. They have turned away quickly for what I commanded them, and have made a cast idol for themselves." As the Lord said to me, "I have seen this people, and they are a stiff-necked people. Indeed, let me alone so I might destroy them and blot their names from under heaven. And I will make you a nation stronger and more numerous than they." So I turned and went down from the mountain while I was ablaze with fire, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in my hands. When I looked, I saw that you had sinned against the Lord your God. You had made for yourself an idol cast in the shape of a calf. You had turned aside quickly from the way that the Lord had commanded you. So I took the 2 tablets and threw them out of my hands, breaking them to pieces before your eyes. Then once again I fell prostrate before the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. I ate no bread, I drank no water, because of all the sins you have committed, doing what was evil in the Lord's sight, and so provoking him to anger. I feared the anger and wrath of the Lord, for he was angry enough with you to destroy you. But again the Lord listened to me, and the Lord was angry enough with Aaron to destroy him. But at that time I prayed for Aaron too. Also I took that sinful thing of yours, the calf you had made, and burned it in the fire. Then I crushed it and ground it to powder as fine as the dust, and threw the dust into a stream that flowed down the mountain. You also made the Lord angry at Taberah, at Massa, and Kibroth Hathava. And when the Lord sent you out of Kadesh Barnea, he said, Go up and take possession of the land I have given you. But you rebelled against the commandments of the Lord your God. You did not trust him or obey him. You have been rebellious against the Lord ever since I have known you. I lay prostrate before the Lord those 40 days and 40 nights because the Lord had said he would destroy you. I prayed to the Lord and said, O sovereign Lord, do not destroy your people, your own inheritance, that you were redeemed by your great power and brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Overlook the stubbornness of this people, their wickedness and their sin. Otherwise, the country from which you brought us will stay, because the Lord was not able to take them into the land he had promised them, and because he hated them, he brought them out to put them to death in the desert. But they are your people, your inheritance. You brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm. This is our second reading. Our last reading comes from Psalm 10. Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In his arrogance, the wicked man hunts down the weak, who are caught in the schemes he devises. He boasts of the craving of his hearts. He blesses the greedy and reviles the Lord. In his pride and wickedness, he does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. His ways are always prosperous. He is haughty, and your laws are far from him. He sneers at his enemies. He says to himself, Nothing will shake me. I'll always be happy and never have trouble. His mouth is full of curses and lies and threats. Trouble and evil are under his tongue. He lies in wait near the villages. From ambush he murders the innocent, watching in secret his victims. He lies in wait like a lion in cover. He lies in wait to catch the helpless. He catches the helpless and drags them off in his net. His victims are crushed, they collapse, they fall under his strength. He says to himself, God has forgotten, covers his face and never sees. Arise, Lord, lift up your hand, O God. Do not forget the helpless. Why does the wicked man revile God? Why does he say to himself, He won't call me to account? But you, O God, do see trouble and grief. You consider it and take it in your hand. The victim commits himself to you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Call him to account for his wickedness, that would not be found out. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations will perish from his hand. You hear, O Lord, the desires of the afflicted. You encourage them, and you listen to their cry, defending the fatherless and the oppressed, in order that man who is of the earth may terrify no more. That's the end of our third reading, our psalm for today. This is always a common petition that those who do evil might be brought to account before God, that God would help those who can't help themselves, those like the fatherless, the oppressed, the ones who are being terrified by the evil men or women. And we thank you, God, that you lift us up and you take us out of these troubling situations. Next reading we read is in Deuteronomy chapter 9, and here we hear about God giving them the land. And it's important to remember that God isn't giving them the land because they have done a wonderful job and been great people of God. No, actually the opposite. God reminds them of the things that they've done to cause the Lord to want to destroy them. And yet Moses was the one It says, fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, prostrate before the Lord, in order that he might turn the heart of God away from destroying the people. And as a result, we see in the beginning of chapter 9 that God takes them into the land and takes them against even these strong and tall Anakites and delivers them from the Anakites and will overcome them. So God is a good God who fights our battles for us and wins, even against giants. And lastly, we hear about the making of the silver trumpets. This is very interesting that we hear about the Lord tells the community to blow these trumpets in order to bring them together. Also, he uses the trumpets in order to call them out by tribes, in order for them to set out and go before him, and that this will be used in wars and battles for them to use in order to bring their troops together. And then lastly, as a result of these wars and God bringing them into the promised land, they're to blow these trumpets, rejoicing at the feasts, rejoicing in the battles that have been won by God, that God is before them, that God stands in their stead and fights their battles and wins and overtakes all their enemies. What a wonderful God we have. And then we see him talking about how they are to leave Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, and that they will eventually be brought into the promised land. This is a great hope. And we have that same hope that one day we will be brought into the promised land. As Jesus, the trumpets will sound, and it says Christ will come on the clouds and take us to be with him one day. So may we ever, like them, listen for the trumpet sound, that we might one day rejoice as he comes back and brings us in his glory to his holy kingdom. May you join in that blessing this day. Have a wonderful day.